Here are 3 things I've learned in early recovery. 1, anything you put in front of your recovery, you'll lose. That means that recovery comes first. It's the most important thing in your life once you've admitted that whatever you're trying to recover from, drugs, alcohol, spending too much money, eating too much food, bad relationships, if you want to get freedom from using whatever substance that your drug of choice is, you are going to need to put as much effort as you did using into step work. If you're using a 12-step program, it's not the only way to recover, but it's the only way that I've found that worked. You need to prioritize recovery over everything else, even work. And I'm not saying give up your job and just go to meetings all the time, because that's not practical. Although it would be really handy if we got paid to go to 12-step meetings. I'd be rich. If you haven't been to 3 meetings that week and someone has invited you out and you have a choice to go to the social gathering or the meeting, go to the meeting, especially in early recovery. To be honest, you can mess about with that stuff a little bit further down the line, but when I say a little bit further, I don't mean a year or 2. I'm 3 years in, and I'm really realising that the people around me who really start changing their lives, it kind of happens in year 4 and 5, which is not meant to scare you off, because when you first come in, you're like, oh my God, there's so much to do. You know, things aren't going to change until 5 years. Plenty changes before that. Maintenance requires a fair, it's just like going to the gym for your mind, right? So the people who do that reap the benefits. So if you maintain your recovery by going to meetings, sponsoring people, continuing to do the steps, even after you finish them, you just start again, then you are going to stay well. But as soon as you take your foot off the gas, in my experience, and from what I've seen around me, we just go back to how we were before, because that is kind of our default setting. This is like medication to keep our illness at bay, but if you don't take your meds, you will go back to how you were before. And it might not be using whatever you came in using, it will be something else. It's like whack-a-mole. As soon as you put down one thing, you'll realise that you'll want to use another thing, because the problem is that the substance is not the issue, it's the feelings underneath the substance, the things that make us use in the first place, the feelings that we can't process properly. And that's why we use stuff to self-medicate. So when you start to realise that you don't want to use the thing that you're using anymore, or it's affecting your life in, you know, ways that you'd rather it not affect your life at, then I totally forgot what I was going to say. Then it's time to deal with the feelings that make you use in the first place, so that you have more control over your life. And that leads me on to point 2, which is, again, I forgot what I was going to say, admitting that you are powerless over whatever it is you are using, which is really hard actually. Because when I first came in, I didn't like the idea that I was powerless. It sounded to me like surrender, which, yes, actually, that's what you want to do. You want to surrender. However, it sounded weak. It felt like it wasn't empowering, and it just went against my best thinking. But remember, your best thinking brought you into recovery. You can't fix yourself from the mind that brought you into recovery in the first place. You need to learn some new shit. So in order to be able to do that, you have to surrender your old way of thinking, which is very hard because you've mostly been doing it for your whole entire life. So what that means is take the suggestions that others in recovery who have more clean time than you do give you, and there'll be a lot. Not to overwhelm you, it's manageable, but the suggestions are there for a reason, because when you do the stuff and the things, they work. They miraculously change your life. For example, going to 3 meetings a week, calling other people in recovery to make a community that can support you. Doing the step work, which means getting a sponsor who is a guide to guide you through each question or each set of questions, which uncovers some stuff that you might not be comfortable talking about but is necessary to get well again. You need to make sure that you can keep yourself safe as well. So that what that means is not hanging around places that you used to use your drug of choice in or that might trigger you to use. So, for example, let's just talk about alcohol. Don't be going to the pub if that's where you used to drink. Don't be going past your local off licence if that's where you used to buy alcohol. Don't hang out with friends who might not understand your recovery journey and aren't supportive, which is a real hard one, because if all your friends are alcoholics, then you're going to have to find new friends. But the bonus is that there are heaps of friends in recovery. It's one of the best ways of meeting new people, because you meet people from all different walks of life, and if you don't like one meeting, you find another until you find your kind of people. There are all different types of meetings. That's what I love about recovery. You can go to a foreign country, you can find new friends, because there'll definitely be an English speaking meeting in most countries all over the world. So when I moved to Spain, I immediately had a new set of friends. It's kind of like a religion and going to a church, because you're all into the same thing. People are super friendly most of the time and want to help the newcomer. If you're scared to go to a meeting by yourself, if you haven't even found recovery yet, bring a friend. But don't worry, you'll be looked after. You'll hopefully get a cup of tea and a biscuit or coffee if that's what you want. Anyway, just go, see what it's about. And there are online meetings as well now, which I definitely do recommend going in person, because there's nothing like seeing people in person and getting an actual hug if you're not scared of that type of thing. But if that's too much, try the online meetings. It's definitely the first step in seeing what 12-step recovery is about. So along this point of taking the suggestions that others give you and realising that you need to surrender your old ideas, because you are powerless over whatever it is that you can't stop using. Obviously, otherwise you'd be able to stop using it by yourself. Totally forgot again. When you have a bright idea, check it with somebody. Check it with a few people. Remember, your thinking isn't sorted yet. You still have the brain of an addict. You're always going to have the brain of an addict, just to let you know. However, you can suppress that bonkers part of you by doing the work. However, if we keep ourselves to ourselves and stay with our own thoughts for too long, it can be a dangerous place. So make sure you're in community, make sure you have good friends around you. If they're not your old friends, then find some new ones in recovery, and speak through any ideas that you might have, because sometimes we can just have mental ideas that seem great at the time. Oh, this is from my experience anyway. And then after a few weeks or sometimes a few months, I'm like, yeah, what was I thinking? Sometimes when I'm doing my writing and my step work, I answer a question, and then a couple of months later, I might read it back again. I was like, who was that person? What was going on in my brain cells? So yeah, there's so much change that happens in recovery, full stop. Change happens in life anyway, but when you're doing work to uncover reasons why you self-medicated, it really changes your mindset. That's the whole point. Like, it's supposed to change your mindset, because you don't want your old mind, you want a nice fresh new one. And point number 3, you have to make time for recovery, which is very similar to putting recovery first. But in order to be able to put recovery first, you have to make time for it. Therefore, your life was most probably quite full, even if it was just full of using, before you came in. You can't squeeze recovery in. So what this looks like for me is something has to go. So when I get more recovery, I will pursue other things that I would like to do, that are on my bucket list, if you like. But at the moment, in the first year 100%, but I'd say 3 to 4 years, you really need to just take it easy with yourself, give yourself some grace, understand that it's not about comparing yourself to where your friends are, because your friends aren't doing all this work that you're doing. It's like unpaid homework. Don't get me wrong, the gifts will come in other ways. It's definitely worth it, but it is a fair bit of work. You have to go to meetings, you have to get yourself to meetings. So I have this thing recently where I'm bummed at myself because I don't trust myself to make decisions that come from a non-addict brain. So I don't know whether I have crazy thinking or whether my ideas for my life are good ideas and that I should pursue them. And I made this video the other day and I listened back to it and I was like, well, obviously, let's wait for the Nino to go past. Well, obviously I can't trust myself because I haven't made that many good decisions with my new recovered brain, because I'm still in early recovery. So you have to be patient with yourself. I have to be patient with myself. Realize that, why don't I practice by starting to make smaller decisions? That's why they say, especially in AA, don't make any life-changing decisions in the first 12 months. But really, it's longer than that, because it does take longer to wash the old thoughts out and inject some new ones. Take it easy. Don't expect too much of yourself. It's hard, not physically, but emotional work that you have 100% been suppressing, because no one is emotionally mature when they use drugs, alcohol, or any substance to change the way they feel. So you're not used to processing emotions. So now you're going to learn how to process emotions, which is deeply uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. It gets easier, don't get me wrong. So don't be too scared. But in the beginning, it's very uncomfortable and you're not going to love it, but it is so worth it. So just keep going.